here today to another of our kerfuffle interviews with one of our key partners, and indeed one of our key partners, because we are here today with Ian Crampton from Ferndown Estates. Hello, Ian. How are you?
I'm very well, Simon. Thanks for inviting me along.
Look, you're always welcome on the show, whichever one it is, to be honest. So that's absolutely great. So as I said, we're here to talk today about the Depositary, the end of tenancy solution, as I think it's fitting a really nice kind of niche for itself. And I'm really keen, first and foremost, Ian, just give us an overview of yourself as a business. Just give us an overview of Ferndown, where you are, size of business, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so we're based at the end of Birmingham International Airport. We wave at the pilots as they go overhead. We've been established now for 20 years, just under 20 years. We operate a fully managed service, and we've got just 400 properties under management, one or two just below that.
Am I right in thinking from what with the conversation we've had before that you only do the managed service? Is that right? Is that what you were saying?
Yeah, we do. Yeah, we stopped offering let only and rent collection 2 years ago.
Okay, right. Okay, that's interesting. And give us an idea how long you've been using the. Oh, it can't be that long, obviously, because they've only relatively recently out. And just give us an overview of what attracted you to them in the first place.
Well, I actually think, and Christian or Carla can verify this, we were the first agent to onboard with the Depositary. So my recollection is probably just under 2 years ago. I think for me, the noise I knew when we were getting called in our office by a tenant who was ending their tenancy. There used to be this audible groan coming, and it was almost like the one thing that the lettings team really didn't want to handle, because they recognised that there was going to be quite a bit of work involved in that process. And in many cases, I think where we'd been operating, in our normal way, we were kept on getting, I guess, pushback from tenants or landlords, sort of suggesting that we may be helping one side or the other. Yeah. So we was trying to find something that basically pushed back a little bit more. So when I heard about this Depositary app, I thought, well, that sounds like a good thing to try out. Spoke to Carla and Christian, and just felt that it was, because they were agents themselves, particularly with Christian, I just felt it was something that we needed to try. So it literally was a leap of faith. Nobody else had joined. It was something that was very much in its infancy. But I just felt, as it was coming from another agent, I just felt it was something we needed to do.
We haven't got enough time today to do this one, but it does strike me that there is a wonderful combination going on at the moment where agents are getting involved in prop tech, and because of that, they're kind of avoiding that whole sort of minimum viable product period, because they get it instinctively. It's not like they have to put it out there, validate it with other, with estate agents. They've kind of got a bit of an advantage, as you would expect, wouldn't you? I was just going to say, I think we're at a really exciting sort of moment, aren't we, at the moment, where we've got people like Christian, agents, who are also implementing prop tech, and because of that, actually the minimum viable period that a lot of people talk about is much shorter, because they instinctively get it. Would you agree with that?
I think that's certainly very 100%. I think the thing that we can find when these prop tech elements are done by people who have been in the industry, they're much more intuitive. It just really does become and the results that we've found since we've used it, even though we didn't really get many disputes, it's just an intuitive system. It basically allows people to follow when you go in somewhere, you're walking around somewhere, you're thinking, oh, I wonder where I need to go now, and there's a little sign and you go, oh, that's where we're going. That's the sort of prop tech that we like, and that's where you'll always get that from people who have been in our industry.
That's interesting, isn't it? And probably it would only be an agent that would have looked at that rather tricky niche end of the tenancy stage. It's not like me and
my nuances.
Me and my prop tech bubble, my ivory tower, is not going to come and say, oh, I'm going to go straight for the end of tenancy. I'm going to go for the sexy end of the process. But
you have to have lived it. You have to have lived it.
Yeah, and it is the key thing is you understand there what the pain points are far greater, don't you? So again, I can see why that resonates. And you spoke about the results there. I mean, just give us a clue of. Sometimes it's really, really hard for anyone to judge the actual results, but are you able to gauge those results in any tangible fashion as to what the benefits of the depository is bringing you?
Yeah, I think, look, I can give you some hard facts.
Yeah.
So when we started with the depository system, I think we'd only had, from 2017, we'd had 9 disputes, which isn't a lot in the realms of things. Since we've been with the depository, which would have been back end of 2019, we've had no disputes.
Okay. Yeah.
Now, again, nine disputes to handle in the first would have been 2 years from 2017. It's not huge, but I'll tell you what the biggest return on investment is. When the photos email comes in from a tenant saying, I'm looking to end the deposit at the tenancy, and there isn't a groan, that genuinely my staff, it's just another task. It's nothing that is like, oh no, we've got a notice in. That has honestly, that has completely stopped. So and that to me is the biggest return of investment that we've got.
Yeah,
100%. That the fact that we don't have any disputes anymore is great, but it's that time saved and the benefit to my staff that to me is why it makes such a difference.
And what if you were to try and figure out why that is? Is it just that transparency element that everybody is much clearer from the outset? Yeah.
So the timeline, it gives people a clear timeline of who's next in the process, in that flow. Yeah. It gives credibility to the process. It gives people education. So the information that's in there, it sort of helps, informs and educates each of the user, both the landlord and the tenant, what they can claim for, what they could claim for, probably what they shouldn't or couldn't claim for. So all of that involved, it just reduces the expectation levels. Yeah. And I think for us, the byproduct of that is that we've always now been told that it's nice to have a very impartial process. It looks authoritative. So when the emails and the communications come from kerfuffle to the landlord or the tenant, it does seem to be like an adjudication process that's happened by everybody being involved. And I think that's why we found it to be such a good piece of PropTech.
It just makes such tremendous sense, and like all good things, isn't it? It seems simple when you describe it like that, but of course, making something simple is the hardest thing of all. I can't remember who.
Yes,
I'd take a guess. I'd probably say it was Nelson Mandela or somebody said it was. You know, famously, it was. I think it was Steve.
It was Kermit the Frog.
Well, I'm in his world, as you can see, but I think it's so phenomenal. When I was lucky enough to be invited to the unveiling of the first public depository thing there, and as I said, I've gone on record as saying I couldn't believe just how for a first product, first iteration, how simple and intuitive it felt, and still quite still a depth of functionality there. I mean, it's easy to do simple when there's nothing in there, but that certainly wasn't the case with what those guys were doing.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of depth that gone into it, and again, from somebody who's been working in the industry, it just strikes me that experience, that lived through process, those groans of the end of tenancy are all within the coding. So
obviously, just having a great product is one thing, but getting the staff to use it, getting them on board is a key thing. What was the onboarding like from the depository? Was there much hand holding? Was there the need for that? Just talk us through that side.
Yeah. So before we got onboarded, we had a meeting like this with Carla and Christian. The key members of the lettings team were involved in that process. We had a walkthrough process. We put a dummy case in to the system, and throughout we've been notified about updates. We've had some touch base calls and video calls with the team at the depository, and actually one of my key members of staff went on maternity leave, who was the person who handled predominantly all of the depository processes, and our most, what's the opposite of tech savvy, the worst person,
right.
The worst tech person in our office took over and she's absolutely flown through it, and she's never had a problem. So that just goes to show to me how good the system is, because even our lettings manager, who admits to me she's not the most tech savvy, she's handled them.
Let's call her the Simon Whale. I mean, the whole idea that I'm a prop tech expert is a complete joke, as you've seen me struggle with calculators. I think that's a great point though, Ian, actually, isn't it? It's easy for super users or techie savvy people a lot of the time to get used, but actually the adoption of a package, software package, is determined by the slowest member, isn't it? So that really resonates. And if you can bring the team with you on the whole, rather than just letting those outliers that always find it easy, that's a double bubble. That is really.
Yeah, I mean, Thelma will profess, she's always said to me she doesn't get on with prop tech. She's absolutely brilliant at absolutely everything else: mediation, talking to people, just getting people to on board with Ferndown Estates. But even she was a little bit reticent, a little bit reluctant, but she's come through the last 9 months, because Dawn's back next week. And she's taken it in a stride. So that's a good testament to the system.
What do the rest of the team say about using it as well? Is it uniform? This is a benefit. What's their feedback?
Well, most of this is what I've told you is back from the staff themselves. They find it a really important element of the system. So they really appreciate it.
Great. What are the strengths do you think are the system? And I mean, the wonderful thing is, this is, as we said, well, I don't know whether it's version 1 or version 2, but it's at we're right at the start of the exciting curve of development for this. What main strengths do you think there are other than what you've mentioned so far?
I think, going back to I've mentioned the impartiality that it gives you. It really, one thing we don't want to get caught up with is this. Well, you're only doing that because of, or you're only protecting them, and that accusation that was bandied about a little too often, in my view, has just gone. It's evaporated. And I think if you can come out with being thought of as a fair-minded agent, an independent agent, I think that gives you a lot of good credibility. Because we look at our Google reviews and we get some good testimonials from tenants who basically promote that, which is very often not the case, is it? And I'm sure not a lot of lettings agents will find that they get that accusation a lot.
They absolutely do. I mean, you only have to go to any review platform and the lettings landscape is a disaster, isn't it? And it's because there's this perception of shadowy deals being done, isn't there, between landlord and agents and everything else. And as we know, so unfounded in almost all cases there, but it's just because of that lack of transparency, and let's be honest, a lack of just general understanding from tenants and everything else how things work. So anything that can help make that better has got to be seen as a positive, hasn't it?
100%.
And looking at it from the other side, it's not just about getting somebody going live. It's about hand holding them going forwards, helping them get more out of a platform. What's the aftercare been like? The telephone support. Is there telephone support? Do they have essentially, account management updates with you? How does that work with the Depositary?
Yeah, so we get notified of updates, releases, new elements. I've been asked a couple of times just to, as a point of reference, do I think these sort of things are a good idea? So all the way through, they're always looking at ways of improving and adding elements to it. So I've had some good conversations with both Christian and Carla. They're always very easy to touch base with them. I don't know whether, because you always remember you first, don't you, Simon? So maybe I'm just get special treatment. I don't know, but perhaps that's something to do with it. I'm thinking that I'm special. But
no, we come from the same narcissistic place. So that's perfect. That's business owners in general, isn't it? You mentioned there in terms of obviously the disputes, obviously being fantastic. Just in terms of other efficiencies, is there a time saver just in terms of just the day-to-day business as well?
Anything that stops the backwards and forwards calling from tenants, what's going on? Where's my deposit? What about I don't agree with these deductions? Anything like that, that's gone. It's a completely evaporated. We've never, seriously, and it might sound like, oh yeah, he's only just saying that. We don't have any calls from tenants saying, well, I'm not sure about that deduction. It just seems, because it's within a system that presents it in a way that's very open and, as you mentioned, transparent. Those calls have gone.
Yeah, that's great. And I mean, I've heard a few people, they're lazy, let's be honest, people being a bit lazy, say, well, we're talking to our clients all the time. But, you know, the point is you're often having to do that in a responsive fashion, which isn't the best.
Yeah,
Things
reactive. Yeah.
Reactive, exactly. What this allows you to do is if you've got that time back, you can be proactive, can't you, and make the call on your terms, which is a much nicer balance to have, isn't it?
We're calling tenants and landlords to prompt them about the fact that it's their turn to process. You know, we're just waiting for your bank details now.
Yeah.
Just to go so we can send your deposit back. Oh, thanks for chasing. And it's just a very different process. Again, the groans, the moans, the anxiety has gone out of the end of tenancy process.
So there's your slogan line. If when Christian watches this, no groans, no moans. That's basically you've given him his marketing blurb for the end of the year, basically.
Drop the mic at that stage and walk off.
And I think we have. I think that's wonderful. As I said, I always want these to be quite short and snappy because you know me, I'll waffle on for days, which I'm told isn't in the right thing to do on social media. But let's just finish just up, Ian. And again, thank you so much for your time today here. So just give us your overall thoughts. Clearly, you're a big fan, though. But how would you rate your experience overall with them?
Well, there's not many companies that I actively, genuinely promote. I'm very keen to, share good prop tech with fellow users. And every time I speak to anybody, if I know that they've got a lettings operation, yeah, I just tell them, you've got to get on board with this because it's just going to save you time, money, effort. But more importantly, it's going to make your staff's life a lot better, a lot less stress. So absolutely get on board with it.
Let me jump in with my own kind of reverse review for them. There's loads and loads of businesses we work with on kerfuffle to help promote them, and they, and let's be honest, a lot of companies need that kind of help and assistance. The one thing, Carla and Christian don't need any of my help because that word of mouth referral is working just so incredibly strong for them, isn't it? And that's always quite exciting to see because people like your good self when you find out a little secret, you want to share it, don't you? That's what I like.
You do. There's a couple that I try to do that with, and genuinely, when I know that it's genuinely working for the benefit of my business, I know that the impact it's going to have because I know what that process is, that ending of tenancy process. It's not nice sometimes, and this is just it's just a better way of working.
Better way of work. Better way of work. We're getting all the great sound bites out for them now. He's going to owe you a lunch at the very
a packet of crisps. He can't afford it now. He's got more kids.
So let's give it the classic 5-star rating. I think I know where this is going, but rating them out of 5.
5.
5, perfect. And I suppose as long as it's not the competition, as we always have to say, fellow guild members, you wouldn't have any hesitation in recommending the Depositary then through to other lettings agents.
I think everyone's sick of me promoting it anyway, to be honest. But yeah, here he comes talking about kerfuffle again.
There we go. Well, that's absolutely fantastic, Ian. Thank you so much. I think it's really important. I want to say this. This only works if people like your good self will. We want to share the best kept secrets, don't we? Because it can only help standards and service overall. So again, thank you for being so honest about it. And I look forward to catching up with you soon.
Thanks very much.
Cheers.
Take care.